Well, it's the 23rd of November 2024, and I had a clairvoyant phone reading about a week and a half ago. It was the last day I was using my phone before I changed my number. There's a few things that have come right already, but it doesn't mean to say that the reading is accurate, because I've had many readings in the past where they haven't been that great, and I obviously just look at them as a guide rather than an actual fact. It is the most accurate clairvoyant phone reading I've had since I moved to Yeovil, and possibly from a couple before that. So most of the recent psychics or whatever have refunded me or not given me readings, or most of the readings they give is a load of nonsense that's not true, which is coming up with names that don't exist, or they come up with a name that doesn't exist this time, but you just know that readings aren't true. Well, there's a few things that have come true. I'm going to just skip to that a minute. So, firstly, she said the risk of the dangers or warnings of going to the local church or whatever. She thinks that it could stir a bit of trouble, and the possibilities could come back at me. No, I didn't take that into account at the time, but when I went to the church last Sunday to have a socialising meet-up with people that I know, it did turn out to be quite nasty, and I was accused of photographing a family, and when I wasn't doing anything wrong. In actual fact, the lens wasn't open in my camera. I was just looking at a picture that I'd taken about 30 minutes before I went into the church to see if it's in focus, basically, and deleting the ones that didn't come out, basically, because I was struggling to take that specific picture due to there being lots of people about or whatever. So I decided to leave due to that issue. So she's right about that. The clairvoyant was instantly right when she gave me the reading that I smoke, or I started smoking again, and she says I need to get off of that, or that sort of thing. She picked up on my drinking. She says that's something you need to sort out, without me saying anything at all. There's a few other things that she got right. Well, this actually happened just before as well, so this is going on for a little while. This is be a bit cautious when you go food shopping, because she senses that there's people that are giving you a hard time, and you need to be careful of that. Which is something she got right, because I didn't say nothing to her on that. And she also said the trouble was going to increase, especially coming into the Christmas period. But unfortunately, she said after the first couple of weeks of January of 2025, she thinks that things are going to get a lot worse, and she says it's not going to get any better. And basically she said you need to be very careful, but until a certain time. But that certain time is not guaranteed. I'll come to that in a minute. So just before I go into clairvoyant readings, I just want to mention that she did say that there was going to be a partner or a massive move, which is going to be quite a distance from this area, with a lady named Julia. Now obviously at the time she gave that name, I thought, well, is there anyone I can fancy in my age group that's not a single mother that's good looking, or is it too late? But obviously she thinks that this is going to be a perfect person that's going to be okay, and she senses that there will be adjustments in life, and life will improve. She says I'm going to get to know this person from basically December, before Christmas. She didn't give a time or date, and she said that she thinks it's going to be sort of, I wouldn't say rigged up as such, but where there's help in the balance of how this person meets up with me, basically. But obviously, before I go any further, let's just give some rational information about clairvoyant readings, because obviously in the past many have been wrong, and going back 10 plus years ago I sort of took it a bit more seriously, sort of thought that it was going to come true rather than taking it as a guide. and obviously you've got to help yourself, you know, in changing your life and all the rest of it. Family has said it, the social workers, support workers, staff at supported housing, and even a friend called Peter, which is a neighbour at my place, has also give that guidance. And what they're saying is true. So, you know, you have got to change yourself or you won't get anywhere in life. So that is spot on. So I am making that change already, doing other things, getting out more. But it's very difficult at this minute in time because a lot of the problems and troubles are escalating, which has been predicted by this psychic. Obviously I don't have the phone number anymore, because I use a credit on that phone for that reading on that specific day, and it's the same day I changed my number. So she did also come up with the trouble with moving and all the rest of it, and she said you've sort of missed out, or you've not gone, you know, couldn't remember the wording she said, but she has been right, as I found out the day before yesterday, with a call from the social worker to say that I failed to sign into my email account or answer my phone when I was offered a specific place from Home Finder to go and view, not to take, just to view, to see if you might be interested. But I did look on my old account in the emails, and there's been no emails whatsoever, not even in the trash box. So it's a possibility that they tried phoning me, but it seems a bit late, because it would have been 2 weeks after I the bidding cycle ended at that time when I bidded on that specific place. So whether this is just to make it sound like I've been offered a place when I haven't is not certain. But either way, I can't see people making up stories to apply this. But so let's get on with the other things that the psychic's been right with, just in a week and a half basically. So I'm a bit surprised. Most readings don't come true. I think the last reading I had where it was this accurate for the build-up goes back before roughly 2019 or before then. So a lot of the clairvoyance in recent times have been wrong, you know, sort of nothing's been right. Even give names of names I've never heard of before, of possible interlinks or partners or whatever. None of it's come true, and a lot of them have refunded me or refused to give me readings and want to give me a reading at a better time when I can give some positive information. 2023 and 2024 and the last section of 2022 there's been the most frequent times ever where I've been sort of where they've refused to give me a reading or refunded me from having a telephone call reading. I'll also mention that in the past there's only been one clairvoyant out of every single reading I've had in the past that's picked up on this organised force that's being caused around me, that's making it very difficult to do anything, or what I call setups or force control around me, controlling my movement in a malicious way, or where it's like organised to cause problems or whatever. There's only ever been one psychic that's ever mentioned that. And she didn't mention it in like a term I'm mentioning it in. She just gave a simple, plain. I couldn't remember how she put it now, but it's basically to say you need to get rid of this evil force that's being controlled around you, and saying that there is force around you and it is being caused, but you need to get out of that force before you can have your life changed. I had a similar, but not quite the same thing mentioned by this psychic. She said basically I'm going to come into this into communication, or this Julia or whatever it is, in December, and she thinks there's going to be a move at the beginning of next year, so January. She said it literally pretty imminent in the new year. She didn't give a time as such. I can't remember if she said January, February or March, but she definitely sort of made it sound like it was imminent after Christmas. But like I said, I don't even know this person yet, so how accurate that is, I do not know. She did come up with some other information. Is saying, be prepared to move, so have your stuff prepared, so don't bother decorating, don't bother doing this, don't bother doing that. Keep your boxes packed, ready to move if you have to move in an emergency or whatever. Which is pretty much what I'm doing. It's not tidy, obviously, it's not all packed, but yeah, considering I didn't say anything to her, and the fact she picked that up from psychic, from spirits or whatever, was interesting. And obviously the church bit was interesting as well, because obviously she said avoid the church. She also picked up on imminently when I first had the reading on the actual day about the smoking and the drinking, and saying that I think it's getting bad. She said your eating habits are bad. I guess they are. So yeah, she is right in some ways, without me saying anything. And she thinks that when Julia comes into your life, or whatever it is, she didn't actually make it that clear whether Julia is a partner or whether it's. She just made it. She's an organiser maybe of a move or something. But the thing is, she said that she made it sound like you're going to be moving together. So she made it sound like a partner basically. But like I said, it's only a reading, not to be taken as granted. So if it comes true, it comes true. It doesn't. I don't have any faith in this, to be fair. I just see it as a guide, and just supposing that didn't come true, let's just hope that there's a move. Because she did say that the year of 2025 is going to be very nasty. So it's going to be really nasty. You're going to have to be careful. It's going to be a lot of things, and so just got to be aware of that. She did say that there's going to be no good news. As far as that goes, she says just struggle through it and just be careful. But she said it's only until this time. She says that when this Julia comes into my life, or whatever this is, she said it'd break the circuit of all this corrupt action or control movement that's causing havoc in my life. So she put it in a milder term, so it's possibly you could say she's a second clairvoyant that's picked up on the setups or controlled around me. But she reckons that you're going to move, and she reckons it's going to be quite a distance as well. So I don't actually believe this part of the reading, but she thinks she has a different theory. She thinks that that's going to take place. It's just a case of her waiting and seeing whether she's right or not. But like I said, I don't have any belief in that, to be fair. So I'm trying to sort of work out what the alternative route of life would be if I was still here. So obviously the good news is you probably get another place pop up on Home Finder and bid on it and whatever, and might get a move that way as an alternative. But it's not good that the prediction of people or negative behaviour is going to worsen, and she thinks it's going to get a little bit worse inside. But it's hard to say. Just something I need to come back to later on. Unfortunately, I didn't have the digital audio recorder handy to audio record the actual phone call, because I would have had to have the loudspeaker on. It'd be very difficult to do, but I did have the digital audio recorder device with me on that day. So I assume she means that the change is going to take place from my eating habits of smoking, drinking and whatever when this takes place. So it's only 1 month, before this occurrence takes place. She definitely gave the name Julia. I've only ever known 2 people under that name in my whole life. One is a girl that's 1 year younger than me, and she was in a relationship or was good friends with someone 1 or 2 years older than me. But this goes back to school days. This is not applicable anymore. However, this person does live in Yeovil, believe it or not. But she doesn't know me because obviously it's that many years ago. Obviously she's not going to remember me from that time. And obviously she's in a relationship. It is interesting, I will mention this, she does listen to drum and bass music, but not my sort. It was about just over 10 years ago, she was on the bus to Yeovil, and I heard her playing drum and bass. The other Julia was someone in my class years ago, so again, not applicable. She's married with kids and, and all the rest of it. In actual fact, I think if I remember, she's gone into negative attraction to when I was speaking to an old school friend on the phone last year that remembers that person. The thing is, it's going to be difficult whether this reading's true or not, because not only is it not verified or valid, but I want someone that's not a single mother, and I want someone I'm able to fancy. And is that possible, at my age? 20, 30 years ago that would have been possible, because we could, for example, let's go through a little story here. Obviously it wouldn't be right to do this, not this day and age, but it's worth mentioning in the past. Sid James and Barbara Windsor are two celebrities that starred in the Carry On films that were released in the 60s and the 70s. Well, Barbara was something like 16 and Sid James was something like 50 or 60. They got in a sexual relationship, and and they were open about it, There was back in that day, it was shown on telly, it was exposed, It wasn't seen as anything wrong. If we move to the 2000s, say 2010, even in 2010, women were allowing different age gaps. So you had Katrina Rich, who was with some bloke, I can't remember what his name is. He was in his mid-40s, and she was only in her 18 to 20, something like that. And even back in, 2005, when that took place, there's no problem with that. But moving to 2010, I'm not going to give the surnames, but you had Leanne from Bridgewater, and you had Rebecca, also from Bridgewater. Both of those have been in relationships with people in their high 30s and 40s. I think one of them's almost 50 when Leanne got in a sexual relationship with her. There's a possibility she's still with that person now, I don't know. There seems to be a lot of moving about when people go into relationships and all the rest of it, but it wasn't seen as a problem back in those days. But back in the time that was occurring, I was getting threats. People starting on me all the time as usual, so obviously I didn't have anyone back in that time. This is another person. Sadie mentioned this in 2015 or 2016 when my mum went on a visit to see relatives. She said that Kim, she actually goes with older men, and and I asked her what old as me, and she said yeah, older. So I was quite surprised about that, because she's only in her high 20s, 30s, something like that today. Now let's go to another Kim, shall we? This one's on the internet. When she was 18, she was in a relationship with someone aged 41. Going back years ago, that is. That person that she's in a sexual relationship with, who was 41, is 10 years older than I am. When she was 28, take into account, she wasn't as I wouldn't say she was a sexual looking, as more of a it's more plain, but someone that you can fancy sort of thing. So not the bestest, but somebody that's basic. Take into account, when she was 18, she was in a relationship with someone 20 years difference in age, and 10 years later, she's 10 years older, and between me and her there's only 10 years difference in age. She told me I'm a sick bastard because there's a 10-year age gap, and that's what's happened. So times have changed. Just in 10 years she's closed the age gap to whatever age it is, she's closed it too. And the other thing I didn't realise is she's a single mother, and she had 2 children, and when she was 28, which I don't know the age of them, but I saw them on the internet, so they would have been about 10ish, maybe a bit younger. So it just shows, and obviously it's the same on dating sites or whatever. There's not so much age that's the problem, to be fair, and it just seems that a lot of the men go for the youngest women. They're sort of just looking for someone that you can fancy that's not a single mother. It's basic as that, if that's possible. But this is why I can't see the clairvoyant reading being that accurate from the phone reading that I had a week and a half ago. I mean, it might be, but only time will tell. And the only reason I'm doing this reading now, because back at the time I had the reading, I didn't even bother putting it on the internet because so many have been sort of, I thought, but because of these things that have happened, there's at least 5 things that have occurred that's come true already that she mentioned in the reading without me saying anything. Then you've got the initial things that she mentioned, like which she didn't even have a clue about, when she knows I smoke, or started smoking and starting I drink and all that sort of stuff, and how bad it's getting, eating habits, and saying be prepared to move and all the rest of it. So that's what made it interesting. The fact she's mentioned the organised forces around me, if that's the right way to put it, that I mentioned like just now. So putting that all together, I thought it might be worth doing a recording just to mention the beginning part. I mean, it might not all come true because we've had this before. If we go back over 10 years ago, we've had a reading like this before, and when it comes to the partner or the move section of the reading, it takes a negative turn rather than going in the direction of the good news. So it's hard to say, but the problem is a very narrow reading, you see, when it comes, if you take, just supposing that bit with a so-called Julia or whatever it is that comes into my life, whether it's whoever it is, she's making it sound like I'm going to be moving with her or moving in with her, but so which this is what's making me suspect is some form of partner or something that's going to be taking place. But just take that out of the equation. Just supposing that doesn't happen, is quite a negative reading going down the line, because she says that things are going to get worse. It's going to get negative. People are going to get nastier. And the build-up's already started, you know, so you know she's right. And this surprised me, this bit. She said that things are going to kick off in the supermarket, and you know, and I think I've already mentioned this. You know, she's right there. You know, people are getting funnier, and people are getting nastier, and whatever. So it was a very, very interesting reading. But even though it's an interesting reading, the reading's not complete yet. You do have to take into account it is only a reading. It's not something to be taken for granted. So, although it might seem accurate or whatever, you've got to look at it as a guide rather than actually being fooled into believing what's going to happen is actually true, because it might not be. But the information content either way is very interesting. I thought I'd give that information out. I wasn't initially going to do the reading, because obviously, you know, I just wanted to see if things are going to come sort of true first. But because of how many things have become, you know, the amount of things that have been right so far, that's the only reason I'm doing this reading. So thanks for listening. Have a good day.